Sheffield 57, the sponsor of this webcast, invites you to visit our re-envisioned condominium residences.
At one time, the Bowery was a gritty stretch neglected by major developers. But with high-glitz hotels, eateries, and fashion stores springing up by the month, the Bowery is now becoming the new hip alternative to Soho, NoHo, and Nolita. This week, Real Deal reporter Jen Benepe goes on location to check out the area's latest additions with broker John Krieger, managing director of Robert K. Futterman & Associates, and Richard Skolnick of Ripco Real Estate Corp.
We're here with Jonathan Krieger from Robert K. Futterman Associates, and we're going to talk about the wonderful new retail that's springing up on the Bowery. How are you doing today?
Doing great. How are you?
Good. So you leased the space to none other than John Varvatos.
That's correct.
Tell us a little bit about his type of fashion and why he decided to come here to the Bowery.
Well, I think what John saw is what a lot of people are seeing, and that's the redevelopment of the Bowery. There's just been a tremendous amount of work between hotels, rental units from Avalon Bay, and some of the highest luxury and global brands that are coming in and looking from NoHo, Bowery, East Village.
So now he also took something sort of iconic, which reflects his new line that's going to be placed in the store, right?
That's correct. He came in, this was the former CBGB's.
Right.
John was a huge fan, had been to over 100 concerts at the at CBGB's, and he is, what we've been told, is specifically tailoring this store to reflect the history of that. And that's going to be more of a rock and roll, edgier line, which we think is great and will no doubt only help the area.
There's a certain amount of edginess still evident because we're right next door to like a social services place.
That's correct.
And when he obviously saw that when he came to the area, what was his feeling about that? Does he like that edginess?
That's what makes this area so diverse and so unique. You're literally 50 feet away from $3,000 a foot condos and 5 new developments on Bond Street, some of the most expensive rentals in the city, which in the Avalon Bay projects, which is phase 1, 2, and 3, over about 700 units. And yet, as you said, we're right in the middle of a social service project. This is the BRC, but that's also what makes New York so unique.
This whole area is on an upswing, but how soon is that upswing going to take place? Next door, we have 2 major hotels, one that's already established, the Bowery Hotel, and another one, Cooper Square, coming up. But the area still retains a certain amount of edginess. There are mixed-use residential buildings. There are also the old restaurant supply store chains that are being moved out slowly but surely by the $200 to $225 rents that we're seeing on Bond Street, close to the new Ian Schrager building. So we're here in the back of CBGB's, both stores, the Varvatos store and the store that you haven't leased yet, and it looks like they have a little work to do.
They do. And this is just a great reflection of the city and this area specifically. In 4 months from now, what you see is what looks like almost a garbage dump will be cobblestone streets. John is going to be putting in a new storefront over here. There'll be cafes over here with smaller boutiques on Extra Place, people sitting outside. And it's going to be a really cool street, just something right out of Paris.
Tell us a little bit about Daniel Boulud.
Famous chef in Manhattan. This is going to be, from what I understand, a tremendous restaurant.
$29 hamburgers.
$29 hamburgers, right? Everybody knows that. Adjacent to him is a store out of the Hamptons called Blue and Cream.
We're here with Richard Skolnick from Ripco Real Estate. How are you doing today?
Great. Yourself?
Great. So Richard has leased this space to Blue and Cream, and tell us a little bit about this store.
Blue and Cream brings in New York and LA fashions, and at this store particularly, he's mixing high fashion with high art, as you can see around the walls.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about the square footage of the store and price per square foot. Can you tell us that?
Absolutely. This store happens to be 1,400 square feet, and when we initially took the first walkthrough, it was only really 1,250, and as Jeff got closer to the lease, we kept adding on more space in the back. So now he's about 1,400 square feet here. The asking rent was $100 per square foot.
We were also looking at the Varvatos store today, and do you feel that this store is also a pioneer like Varvatos?
Absolutely. Jeff wanted something distinctive and fresh when we started looking for space. We did look through Soho, Nolita as well, But when we came to the Bowery, we decided it was something new, something no one's done before. Of course, Patricia Fields across the street had been here, but Jeff wasn't going to be the 15th, 16th, 17th store on the street. He was going to be the first or the second.
He's got an East Hampton customer. Is that East Hampton customer likely to be coming down to the Bowery? Is there some kind of, I would say crossover between that clientele and this area?
Absolutely, absolutely.
And this is the type of place where they might be hanging out in the fall and the spring, going to the cafes and so on and so forth?
Absolutely. I mean, Bowery, like I said before, NoHo, Nolita. I mean, there's plenty of small restaurants, places to hang out, have a cup of coffee, have a cocktail. Whole Foods putting in 65,000 square foot. I guess you can call it a grocery store, but it's really not. It's so much more. It's allowing the residents to live and shop within steps of their front door.
But what are some of the problems still existing in this area? For one, noise. The #1 noise area in the entire city, not just for its traffic, but also for all the bars and restaurants here that residents just can't stand. And finally, mixed-use residential. How long will it take this area to change? We'll soon see, and only time will tell. I'm Jen Benepe for The Real Deal.
Thank you for tuning in for this week's special edition of The Real Deal Webcast. Be sure to join us next week for the latest headlines in real estate news. I'm Adrienne LaValle, and this is The Real Deal.